Hey guys, how's it going? It's X666X Iron Maiden. Today we're back again with extra credits, the history of virtual reality. This time it's called Cyberpunk, Anime, and the Movies. This is part 2. Alright, so I have a feeling this episode is going to get more into the virtual reality that I'm used to hearing. Last time it was covering basically the beginnings, like hearing about it in stories and how they perceived how virtual reality could lead us in the future, which is kind of accurate to where they're going nowadays, I guess you could say, to a certain degree, and how it could affect us. We've had certain movies too that have been based around, virtual reality, animes and stuff like that. I have a feeling those are going to come up in this second episode. There's only a two-parter for this one. So again, this is extra credits, extra sci-fi. One of those cool ones that I just randomly found that I wanted to check out. So let's jump in and check out part 2.
Flying down neon pathways between crystal pyramids and dodging giant corporate structures that render as an obsidian shark. Now that is VR. No? Wait. That's Cyberpunk. Big thanks again to our sponsor, Oculus Rift, for underwriting us and making 2 extra episodes of Extra Sci-Fi this season possible. Also, be sure to check out the Rift exclusives like Robo Recall and Dead and Buried. For more info on the Oculus Rift, check out the link in the description below. We'll be back next week with Arthur C. Clarke, but for now, here comes the second half of the history of VR and sci-fi. And we are at Cyberpunk. William Gibson storms onto the stage, tying together the weird counterculture ethos of new wave sci-fi with the readability of the pulps. In 1981, he brings us Johnny Mnemonic, a story about a human whose brain is used for spare data storage. Unfortunately for him, though, someone has put something in there that others would rather see destroyed. This is also where we first meet Molly Millions, and if you get that reference, you know exactly where we're going. But before we can get there, we have to talk about Gibson's 1982 story called Burning Chrome. Not only is it the first place where the word cyberspace is used, but it's the first time we see someone jack in. Together, these stories
I've seen that again many times. Remember The Matrix?
Neuromancer, which we're going to be talking about a heck of a lot more when we do our series on Cyberpunk. But here, we're going to focus on the fact that it put VR in the center of popular culture. It envisioned 2 different methods of VR. One where you jack directly into your nervous system, and another where you put electrodes on your head which deliver you a full sensory experience. Both of these will become staples in sci-fi, but they also do something important, something different from most of the sci-fi that came before. Instead of creating a simulated reality that the protagonist has to escape from, they create a layered reality of which the user is aware. This allows characters to flip back and forth between the virtual world and the real world at will, enabling the two to flow together.
That's cool.
The virtual world becomes a tool for real-world actions, and things in the real world affect the virtual. All of a sudden, we realize that they aren't 2 worlds, but rather one. Just like the internet today, Cyberpunk gave us a simulated reality that wasn't actually virtual at all. It was simply an extension to our reality. This theme is explored in Gibson's other novels, Stevenson's Snow Crash and Diamond Age, the Otherland series by Tad Williams, and countless other books. Then,
again, I'm not much of a
90s,
someone who reads a lot of books. I've always enjoyed cinema more
many of these films
always, so I don't really know any of these books.
You, Johnny Mnemonic.
I know, bad on me, right?
Others
they all sound interesting, though.
A vision of virtual reality in the popular consciousness. Strange Days, Existence with a Z, and of course, The Matrix gave us a full immersion trip into a realm where anything was possible, where we weren't limited by who we were in the day-to-day and could be anyone or anything, where we could play out our wildest fantasies or have godlike powers. But it's actually one of the earliest modern virtual reality movies that I want to take a second to discuss, because in a weird way, it's one of the most interesting. Lawnmower Man. While the movie itself is, let's just say, not great, it does have one important feature. Years before Diamond Age hit the stands, Lawnmower Man introduced pop culture to an element of VR that's often overlooked. It raised the possibility of using a virtual environment for educational and therapeutic reasons. And sure, it all goes horribly wrong in the end with a virtual lawnmower mowing over someone's brain forever, but there's a kernel of something important there. Because while things like The Matrix have characters just upload a learning program and suddenly master new knowledge, Lawnmower Man, in a very, very ham-fisted way, pointed out that there are a number of advantages a virtual environment might provide fields of education and therapy. Advantages that are just being explored today, and in the long run, may be what drives the use of VR. But the next interesting conceptual exploration of virtual reality doesn't come from Hollywood. It comes when cyberpunk concepts cross the water and are filtered through the lens of anime. Because here, it takes an interesting turn.
Sword Art Online?
Lane serial experiments,
it's coming.
and Sword Art Online,
Boom.
all fundamentally
That I knew was coming.
the same idea.
As soon as you said anime.
What if this tool isn't actually in our control? These shows marry an old and a new concept in science fiction. Cyberpunk brought us the idea of virtual reality as a tool, as an extension of our world, and as something we could use in our real-world lives. Whereas older sci-fi gave us the concept of simulated reality as something to escape. Time and time again, anime brings these two concepts together to ask what happens when we build something bigger than ourselves. When we try to play God and create whole worlds, whole universes to live in. Is that something we can ever really control? Or will it, by the nature of its complexity, have outcomes we can't predict? Will we create things we can't fully understand? Things that may even entrap us. Different shows run different directions with this. Some delving into the philosophic and religious, others using it to create a human drama about self-determination. This theme is so broad it almost becomes its own genre in anime, but they all force us to think not just about the wonder of the technology itself, but about the people who use it to create. Almost every one of these representations of virtual reality, though, whether they're from novels, film, or anime, from the 30s to today, have one thing in common. One thing that's created a set of expectations in the public that are impossible for any current technology to live up to. Like Star Trek's holodeck, they are almost all fully immersive, total body experiences. We read about walking around virtual environments as if we're walking in the real world. No controller, no device to constantly remind us the world we're experiencing is only an illusion. We hear characters talk about the feel or smell of things in their virtual worlds, and we want to experience that. We want to feel the shock of
I so hope we can get to that.
A giant monster's swing. We want to feel the heat of its breath and smell the stink as it exhales. Well, maybe some of us on that last one. That's what we want virtual reality to be. And that's what we imagine it to be in our holodeck, Neuromancer, and Matrix-inspired dreams. And that is one of the biggest hurdles for modern virtual reality to overcome, our own expectation. We've talked about it on Extra Credits, but we're a long way off from that. Right now, virtual reality is a head-mounted display that uses gyros to let you look around virtual worlds. And there are a number of amazing experiences that I love that you can have with it. But to truly
Rick and Morty
enjoy
one, VR.
You have to go in not thinking of it through the lens of a William Gibson or Reiki Kawahara. We have to understand that today's VR is its own thing, with its own marvels, and appreciate it at that. And if we can do that, then maybe it can be the first step towards the science fiction ideal we all desire.
We'll get there.
Until next time, everyone. That was awesome. You know, I think I got a little more time. Ah, that's better. All right, who's up for that Walpole raid? Huh? Let's roll. Once again, thanks so much to Oculus Rift for sponsoring these episodes.
Talk about the sponsoring. I really enjoyed this one. You know, like it goes over a concept. Like I thought about. It's not like a concept that's foreign to me. You know, VR is something they understand is not where a lot of people would like it to be, because a lot of people did read these books. A lot of people have been watching film and watching anime, and and they all want to go into these worlds, and that's what we expect it to get to. And I think some people are just hoping we get there sooner than we can, but I think we're still really far off, you know. Nowadays you have the VR headset, you can put on these special boots and get it strapped into a system that lets you walk around and stuff in these worlds, but we're still not there to the point where you can just plug in and let your brain control everything. You know, where you don't die, you can go into this world and do everything yourself. You know, we're not there. It's not like Sword Art Online where you can just put on a helmet and jump in and hopefully not get stuck there and blocked out, and if you die there, you die in real life. We don't want that. But that could be a thing, man. Like, that could be a thing in the future. I just don't know if it'll be in my lifetime. You know, I'm almost 30 already. I have no idea if, you know, in my lifetime to the point the next 30 years, if we're going to see anything like that. I don't know. Because it's, at the rate technology moves, it's hard to tell. Sometimes it moves so fast that you're just blown away by it, but it's hard to tell. And I love where they leave off mentioning, like, oh, we can't see it as being that now, because it's not. It has to start somewhere else to get there. And I think because we've written about it in all these books beforehand, that, you know, that's a thing we can get to, that everyone thinks that's how it's going to start off, but you have to start off somewhere else and work your way up, because you just can't jump right up to that. That's like, to the point that we're talking about there, it's basically clamping onto someone's brain and, you know, going into neurology here to be able to control what they're trying to talk about here. And no one at this moment is probably even allowed to do stuff like that, where you can mess with someone's brain on a legal level, most likely. So there'll still be a long ways to go. And the first people that do try it, I imagine we could have, if it fails, it could put it behind even more. But I guess we'll see in the future, and we'll see how things go. And I do hope in my lifetime, you know, I'm hitting like 15, I can barely do anything. If from doing all this cooking all my life and doing all these physically demanding jobs that I've chosen to do, if I can barely move, hopefully I can jump into a virtual world and be as if my body's in no problem again, and be whoever I want to be. I hope that's a thing. Some people hate the idea of technology advancing so much and then we're falling, you know, we're not going to be the same as we were without it. We won't be, but we'll be someone else, because, you know, humans evolve. That's what we do. And I think that would be super cool, and I'm completely into it, the idea of that. So here's to hopefully get it in my lifetime. Hopefully you guys enjoyed checking out this two-parter with me. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to see more from me, and as always, you guys have a good one. I'll catch you later.